Think monochromatic cards have to be flat or boring? Well, think again. Today, I'm creating a very clean and simple card that's packed with beautiful texture and dimension, all while sticking to just one color family. Hello, crafty friends. I'm Revati, and welcome to my crafty space. In today's video, I'll be featuring some gorgeous products from the latest Every Happiness release by Simon System to create an elegant monochromatic design that's easy to recreate but looks anything but simple. So let's get started. Don't forget to head over to my Instagram page where Simon is hosting the Every Happiness Instagram Hop. This project is also part of the Hop, so be sure to check it out for even more inspiration. And of course, there are giveaways you won't want to miss. I'm using the new Circle Braids embossing folder, which features this beautiful concentric braided circles that gradually spread across the entire panel. It is a perfect background for adding gorgeous texture and subtle dimension while still keeping the overall design clean and simple. This is a 3D embossing folder, so it creates a beautifully deep and etched impression with incredible detail. Just wait until you see it embossed on paper later in the video. It adds such gorgeous texture and really brings the background to life. The star of today's card is this beautiful oak leaf stencil and die combo. While the stencil set and dies are available separately, I would highly recommend picking up the bundle because they work together perfectly. The layering stencils create a stunning realistic oak leaf with incredible shading and dimension. Each layer adds depth and detail, making it look almost lifelike with very little effort. The coordinating die cuts out the finished oak leaf beautifully, and it also includes the elegant blessed script sentiment along with its matching shadow die, giving you a perfect polished focal greeting that's perfect for both seasonal as well as everyday card making projects. I'll start by die cutting the oak leaf from a panel of white cardstock. I carefully centered the die on the panel so I could use the die cut oak leaf for today's project while saving the leftover panel with the negative window for another card later. It's a great way to get most out of your supplies and minimize waste. You could definitely save this negative window panel and turn it into a beautiful shaker card. Just add a fun stencil design behind the opening, fill it with your favorite shaker mix, and you will have a completely different project. For now though, I'm going to set that panel aside and focus on our die cut oak leaf. I place the leaf onto my ultra sticky mat and now we can begin ink blending with the layering stencils. Now there are 4 layering stencils included in this set. We'll start with the first stencil which has that open design that covers the entire leaf. This layer creates the base color and gives us a foundation for building all of the beautiful shading and dimension in the next layers. You'll notice that all the remaining stencil layers fit perfectly within the first open layer, making it incredibly easy to line everything up. That said, each stencil is also designed to work independently, so you don't have to use the base layer to achieve precise placements. For this project, I wanted to stick with a monochromatic color palette, so I chose a beautiful trio of greens from the Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated Ink collection. I'll be using Celery, Limelacious, and Perfection to build up all the shading on my leaf. I absolutely love how these 3 shades work together. They blend seamlessly, creating a gorgeous depth and dimension while keeping the design elegant and cohesive. Just wait until you see the finished leaf. It turns out absolutely gorgeous. I started with Celery, which is the lightest shade of green in the trio, and started blending it across the entire die cut leaf. You'll notice that I'm not aiming for a perfectly smooth or evenly inked look here. There are some natural variations and little splotches of ink throughout the leaf, and I'm completely fine with that. In fact, those subtle imperfections add to the organic feel of the design and create beautiful texture and depth once all the layers are complete. Once I was finished with layer number 1, I carefully peeled that away and placed the second stencil layer over it. The alignment was incredibly easy thanks to the way these layering stencils are designed to fit together perfectly. Now for my second layer, I used Limelacious, which is the next darker shade in this green trio. This layer starts adding more depth and definition to the leaf, building on the soft base color and bringing out the beautiful details of the design. For the third layer, I used the darkest shade in the trio, which is Perfection. This deeper green adds beautiful contrast and definition, helping bring out the intricate details of the oak leaf and creating that realistic and dimensional look. Since this set comes with 4 layering stencils, I needed to bring in one more shade for that final layer. I added field, which is a beautiful deep green and it is quite close to the tone perfection. This shade works perfectly with the final stencil layer, adding those last touches of depth and detail that really help define the leaf and complete the realistic and dimensional look of our design. I was very intentional about keeping a light hand while ink blending each of these layers because I didn't apply too much pressure. The final leaf has a beautiful subtle transition from the lightest to the darkest shade, rather than having very dramatic color changes. I wanted to create a soft contrast and gentle variations between the greens, which gives the leaf a more natural and elegant look while still allowing all the beautiful stencil details to shine through. I absolutely love how beautiful this leaf turned out. This is definitely a design that you could easily mass produce by simply changing out the color combinations. I can already imagine creating this in warm autumn tones for all my fall and Thanksgiving projects. The realistic details from the layering stencils make it such a versatile design. To continue with the monochromatic theme, I chose a green cardstock that was very close to the shades that we used on the oak leaf for the background. However, this green has a slightly different tone, which creates a beautiful contrast while still keeping the overall design cohesive. This subtle variation in color helps the leaf stand out while still maintaining that elegant monochromatic look throughout the card. To add a pop of brightness and really make that beautiful green leaf stand out, I decided to bring in some white to ground the design. But of course, we can't have a plain white panel without adding a little bit of extra texture. Instead of having a simple white cardstock layer, I reached out for the sparkler scallop frame die to create a beautiful scalloped edge on my white panel. This small detail adds just the right amount of interest and texture while keeping the clean and elegant feel on the card. I trimmed the green background panel so it would fit perfectly within our scalloped frame. I absolutely love how this layered together with the stenciled oak leaf. The soft white scallop border creates a beautiful frame around our green panel, adding just enough contrast while allowing the detailed leaf to remain the star of the card. It's now time to add some beautiful texture to our green background panel, and for that I reached out for the Circle Braids embossing folder. This 3D embossing folder creates such a gorgeous, deeply etched design, and I can't wait for you to see how this panel transforms once it goes through the embossing folder sandwich. The added texture is going to bring so much dimension and interest to our clean and simple design. Just take a closer look at that beautiful detail on our panel. The first time I used this embossing folder, I was honestly amazed by how much texture and dimension it created. The edge design is so intricate and detailed that I love that you can use both the embossed as well as the debossed side to create a completely different look on your cards. Now for today's card, I'll be adding the stencil leaf on the raised areas of the panel, the embossed side, which really helps highlight the texture and creates a beautiful backdrop for our focal point image. With all this beautiful dimension and texture, I knew this panel deserved to be popped up and showcased. So I used foam tape to add some height and adhered the embossed green background onto our white scalloped frame. I love how that little bit of dimension helps separate the layers and allows the beautiful texture from the embossing folder to really shine. Now that our base is ready, we can go ahead and add our focal point, which is this beautiful stenciled oak leaf. Now, since our embossed background is already popped up with foam tape, I decided to adhere the leaf directly onto the textured panel rather than adding another layer of dimension. However, I did die cut an extra leaf and adhered it behind my stencil leaf to add some extra strength and stability. This little extra step makes the focal point much more sturdier, especially since we are attaching it directly on the raised embossed background. It also helps the leaf maintain its beautiful shape while allowing all those gorgeous stencil details to stand out. I would definitely recommend using liquid glue when working with a detailed embossed background like this one. The texture and the raised areas can make it a little challenging for double-sided tape to get a strong, even hold. Liquid glue allows the adhesive to flow into those tiny grooves and uneven spaces, giving you a much stronger and more secure attachment. It's especially helpful when you're adding delicate die cuts on highly textured background like this one. Next, let's work on our sentiment. I went ahead and die cut the word blessed along with the coordinating shadow layer using white cardstock. To tie the sentiment back to the colors on our card, I decided to ink blend the word blessed using the same green shades from our leaf. I started with celery, which was the lightest shade of color and then blended into field, which was the darkest green that we used, creating that beautiful gradient effect. This subtle color transition helps the sentiment coordinate perfectly with the stenciled oak leaf while keeping the entire card design cohesive and monochromatic. Again, to build up even more dimension, I die cut the shadow layer twice and the word blessed 3 times using white cardstock. I stacked all the layers together using liquid glue to create a sturdy dimensional sentiment piece. I absolutely love how the beautiful green gradient sentiment stands out against the crisp white shadow layer. It adds the perfect finishing touch while tying together all the beautiful green tones from the oak leaf and the embossed background. Before placing my sentiment onto the panel, I wanted to add a little pop of shine. So instead of splattering gold watercolor onto this textured background, I decided to bring in some beautiful gold twine. I love how the gold pairs with all the gorgeous greens in our design, and it adds just the right amount of sparkle without taking away from the clean and elegant look of the card. To add the twine behind my sentiment, I placed a little bit of the double-sided tape on the back of the die cut piece. Then I cut a small piece of twine and simply wrapped it around the sticky backing of the sentiment. This does not have to be perfectly arranged. The goal is to create some fun texture and a little bit of dimension peeking out from behind the sentiment. I layered the sentiment onto my panel using some liquid glue. Now that our card front is complete, we can go ahead and attach it to our card base. I chose the same exact green cardstock that I used for the embossed background as my card base. This creates a beautiful sense of continuity throughout the design and allows all the different elements, which is the embossed panel, the stencil leaves, and the sentiment, to feel connected as one cohesive piece. I used some double-sided tape to adhere this panel onto my card base. For the final finishing touch, I brought in the pastel tones Positively Dazzling Gems and selected a beautiful light yellow gems from the mix. I scattered a few of them around the sentiment to add that perfect touch of sparkle and shine. Initially, I was thinking of using green gems to stay within the monochromatic theme, but then I decided to go with a soft yellow instead. I love how they complement the green background while also tying the in beautifully the gold twine we added behind our sentiment. These little pops of sparkle bring everything together and add just the right amount of elegance to finish off the card. I used some liquid glue to adhere all these gems in place. And with that, our monochromatic oak leaf card is complete. I absolutely love how all the elements came together. The layered stencil leaf, the beautiful texture from the 3D embossing folder, and those little touches of gold and sparkle. This card is a great reminder that even when working with a simple color palette, you can create so much interest by combining different textures, layers, and dimension. I can definitely see myself recreating this design in different colors for fall, Thanksgiving, and even everyday occasions. A huge thank you to Simon Sistam for creating this absolutely beautiful Every Happiness release and for inspiring so many creative possibilities. I hope this project inspired you to try monochromatic designs and experiment with texture in your own card making. I'll be sure to link all the supplies that I used in today's project along with a link to the Every Happiness release. Please know that all of those links are affiliate links, which means that if you shop using one of my links, I'll get a small commission at no cost to you guys. Thank you again for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe.